Hello, everybody. I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with fellow editors Chris Beachum and Paul Sheehan, and we're here to talk about the Golden Globes for Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. And the Golden Globes are unique at awards in that they do have separate Best Picture and Best Actor and Actress awards for comedies and musicals, which makes them interesting. They get two bites at the apple in terms of trying to predict who will win Best Picture at the Oscars, and that worked out for them the last year. They awarded Moonlight and La La Land for Best Picture, and it didn't end up being La La Land, but it ended up being Moonlight. Paul, what are you predicting at the moment to win Best Picture at the Golden Globes?
Well, I've got Lady Bird winning, comedy musical. And as I was listening to you, I was thinking, I think it's one we're really underestimating at the Oscars in terms of the Best Picture race. And I think a win here for Lady Bird could really boost it. The Golden Globes this year are handed out January 7th. Oscar nominations voting will still be going on. Obviously, I could certainly see Saoirse Ronan, Greta Gerwig getting nominated at the Globes. Sorry, Saoirse Ronan, comedy musical actress. I think Greta Gerwig for her screenplay, maybe for her direction. I could even see Beanie Feldstein, Jonah Hill's sister, being nominated in supporting she's got this wonderful sort of scene-stealing role. Anyway, I'm very enthusiastic about Lady Bird, but there's lots of other films. So, Chris, what do you make of this race?
Well, it's interesting. There's not a ton of depth. When you get past the first 7 or 8, it's all the things that would be considered would be just sort of blockbuster kind of movies that probably wouldn't get in here. But that first 7 or 8, the quality level is very high, and I'm not sure which one or two movies will be left out. But you mentioned Lady Bird. I think that's going to win. I think that's what I've got right now. But you've got The Big Sick could really be up their alley. That's a movie that's made a ton of money for very little budget. It's based on Kumail's own life story, so that's somebody they could probably really identify with, a foreigner in America. The Disaster Artist, about Hollywood. James Franco, we just saw him at a party a Friday night. He's very, very charming. A lot of Globe voters were at this party. You mentioned Get Out.
Get Out, absolutely. Big, huge hit.
Yeah,
huge, massive hit. And they've not, remember the Hangover won here for Best Comedy. So they're not opposed to giving it to a big budget movie. And speaking of big budget movies, one of the biggest of the year, Beauty and the Beast, could get in here, I think. What else have I left out? Last Flag Flying is on the comedy side. Victoria and Abdul, I could see that getting into the picture race here. I think Judi Dench is going to get in for actress. And one that's really surprising everybody, including our own editors. We didn't know what to expect. I, Tanya, not only might get in here, but I mean, Margot Robbie could win comedy actress.
Really, against Saoirse Ronan. And Daniel, what about as Chris was rhyming off it, it's interesting, Battle of the Sexes by the people that did Little Miss Sunshine. It's here in comedy. I was a little surprised it was over here. I mean, quite frankly, because I felt that the message of the film was so, very dramatic in a way. I mean, I guess the telling of it, had comedic elements. But it kind of didn't take off the way I think a lot of people thought it was going to. Did it?
Yeah, it got respectable positive reviews, but it never really kind of took off. I think under normal circumstances, it might still be a good bet in this category, and it still could certainly get in. But this is a deeper field. As Chris said, those first 6 or 7 or 8 films that have the potential to get in here are really, really strong. So it might have a tough time. It's not in my top 5 currently, but it could be the kind of film that we're underestimating. We could see, if Emma Stone could get in Best Actress, Steve Carell could get in Best Actor. So it could have enough momentum certainly there to push through for Best Picture nomination.
They like their famous folk, and I just wrote up the new trailer for this Fox's big Christmas movie, The Greatest Showman, a musical version of the life of circus impresario P.T. Barnum, starring Hugh Jackman and Michelle Williams. I mean, it looks gorgeous. It's got Zac Efron in it, who looks gorgeous. It's how do you say her name?
Zendaya.
Zendaya saying it. What the old days when these stars would change their names to much more things easy to pronounce. So Chris, what do you think about something like that? That's old-fashioned. It's an old-fashioned musical, but maybe a little Moulin Rouge like. Can you see that breaking through with Globe voters?
I could. It's definitely going to relate back to whatever its reviews ultimately are. But remember, it's a comedy musical category, and they've proven over the years they love to put a musical or two in if they feel like the quality level's there. That's one reason I think I've still got Beauty and the Beast in my 5. That won when it was animated, 25 years ago or more. That won this category right before they split off and had an animation category. So they are already predisposed to liking that particular story, and it's got some really attractive names that could get into acting, and Emma Watson and a Dan Stevens. So either one of those musicals I could see potentially making a group of 5.
And it's interesting. Oh, sorry, Daniel, I just wanted to mention one other film that kind of got screened at the festivals and then has been held back until I think a few weeks from now. Downsizing, Alexander Payne's Downsizing, Matt Damon in it. And it's funny because it had a burst of attention and then it's kind of under the radar. And I could see, as you mentioned, Chris, about reviews and box office. If that does well, I could see that sort of downsizing being on the upswing. What were you going to say, Daniel?
Oh, no, I was just going to say regarding musicals that sometimes, you don't even need the great reviews to get in because they just love musicals so much. We've seen Mamma Mia get in. We saw Nine, Burlesque. These movies that didn't have as much acclaim, Phantom of the Opera, that had, decent or maybe somewhat mixed reviews, but because, especially a dramatic musical, which competing against just regular comedies, a lot of times, that gravitas will appeal to the Globes voters. So yeah, definitely Greatest Showman and Beauty and the Beast could both get in.
Well, it'd be fun to find out on nomination day in December, and then certainly for what wins in January. But as I've said in every one of these slugfests, it's whatever we say may help you make your predictions. You may decide, oh, those three don't know what they're talking about. I know. But people out there will do far better than we do. So that's why we need you to make your predictions, because they'll get factored into our odds, which change hourly. And we update our predictions really based on oftentimes what our users are saying. So